I got a prediction from reading your Tinder bio.
You're into black dudes.
That was a text sent by a notorious Australian dating app user of the name Thomas McGuirk. Back in 2020, he made headline news on such outlets as the Daily Mail and Business Insider after various women that he had matched with on Tinder and Hinge came out and exposed him for the callous things that he was saying. For example, the then 28-year-old matched with a 29-year-old named Hem Mason on Hinge, and according to reports, immediately started asking her inappropriate, sexually charged questions, such as saying, "I got a prediction based on your profile, you're into black dudes." Also asserting that he thought that she had gotten with more black guys than white guys while she was travelling in London. Upon Hem saying none, he then turned around and called her racist. Hem then chatted back, saying that he was immature and that she wasn't going to give him the intimate details of the men that she had been with, despite him constantly pushing for an answer. And the worst thing was that she was just one instance of this happening. The Daily Mail received stories from 9 different women that shared their experience with Mr. McGuirk, but who knows how many there were in total. In one instance, he called someone that he matched with, a beauty vlogger named Jess Turunen, white trash since she told him that she had slept with a black man. He called 26-year-old Chantel Robertson restarted after she declined a date with him due to his arrogance. At one point, he matched with a disability worker named Jessica on Tinder, and after a brief interaction, she blocked him. But then he found her Instagram account and started harassing her there instead. He did the exact same thing with another woman, where after he was blocked, he found her Instagram and said that she was a silly slut, that she had droopy eyes, an ugly face, and low IQ. He called one woman just tits, ass, and puns, and in another instance, he actually met up with one of these women, but after a one-night stand, she decided she wasn't interested anymore, so he decided to verbally berate her, and now she says that she's too terrified to go on another date with someone that she met online. He even apparently asked one of her friends for her home address. He told one woman that less attractive people are worth less than their more attractive counterparts, and then he called her a fat liberal arts chick and even sent a series of meme voice messages over to her. These messages were so vile and sickening, I considered leaving them out of this video altogether. But for you to understand the true depths of this man's depravity, I have decided to play them. Parents, lock up your children. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, enjoy your night. Don't want to waste any more time. Okay, well, you're actually a fat f***ing pig. You know that? So, thanks. You did waste my time. You're f***ing ugly. Your ass looks okay. And you would have been one f***. You would have been just one f***. And that would have been it. Because you're a disgusting fat pig. Look, if you don't have issues if you call out someone for being a person. You're a piece of shit, and you're fat, and you're ugly on the inside and the outside, and I say that to shit people. Good people I treat well. Anyway, look at my face. I don't have struggle getting laid. I turned down a chick tonight. So yeah, I choose not to masturbate. I choose not to a lot. And look, you just called me hot 5 minutes ago saying you think I don't need to get laid. I don't struggle getting laid. You're right, I don't struggle getting laid. And I especially don't need a 4 like you to get laid.
Now, before you throw your phone against the wall in anger, please allow me to alleviate your rage. Thomas McGuirk would see some consequences for his actions. After the Daily Mail reported on his devilish dating app deviance, he was fired from his job at Invenco, an e-commerce logistics company. They wrote on Facebook that there was no place on their team for someone who exhibited this sort of behaviour, and that he had only been at their company for 6 weeks, going on to say that if they had known about his treatment of women on the internet, he never would have been hired in the first place. People replying rejoiced at the news, and he was later banned from both Tinder and Hinge, though this didn't stop him from creating other accounts. He was later spotted going under the names Jay on Tinder and James on Hinge. But that's just one instance of a Hinge freak. flag. As literally anyone who has used the app will tell you, Hinge is ground zero when it comes to freaks. There's somehow more Hinge freaks than Hinge users. Today we have several more to go through, such as a Hinge heister that was able to walk away with $10,000 and a woman whose actions on Hinge have now caused her to be investigated by the FBI. So make sure you carry on watching if you want to get to those. But before we move on to our next story, I'd quickly like to ask that if at any point you find yourself enjoying this, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. As a small channel, it really does help me out, and it also tells me that this is the kind of content that you guys like to see. It takes literally 2 seconds, it costs nothing, and I would be most appreciative. Also, if you like me, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FoxAkimbo. With that said, let's move on to another Hinge user that also made some racist remarks and perhaps took their harassment even further than Thomas McGuirk. Anyone who's used dating apps for long enough will know that at a certain point, you're basically guaranteed to have a disaster date. If you're lucky, it will just be that you two are incompatible. If you're unlucky like me, your dates will literally swipe on Hinge while you're out with them, but if you're as unlucky as a TikToker named Alyssa Love, your date will make you fear for your safety. This story goes back to January 2024, and the unlucky person on the receiving end of this disaster date was a 30-year-old Ohio-based woman named Alyssa. Now, much of this story is shrouded in mystery. For obvious reasons, Alyssa didn't whip out her phone and record her date while they were out. But there were some things about this date that we do know. For example, the man she was out with apparently spent $300 on this date, despite it being their first. This, in my opinion, is a red flag. I think that first dates should generally be quite cheap because you don't actually know this person and you don't owe each other anything. But if you're going to spend $300 on a date, unless she has a swastika armband, do not do what this Cleveland man did and say something racist. She alleged that he made remarks during their date that she deemed as racist. In particular, he used a word that she wasn't comfortable with, so the 30-year-old decided to leave the date early. Now, this isn't confirmed, but as you'll see in a moment when I play a clip from the couple's eventual confrontation, I imagine that he used the N-word or perhaps another slur against the African American community. Whatever the case, at a certain point on the date, she decides that it's not going to be, so she leaves early, as is her right. But to Alyssa's surprise and fear, her date decides to follow her home. And that's where we get the confrontation within a now deleted TikTok that, before its deactivation, received almost 10 million views.
For a second, like,
do not get aggressive with me at all.
I'm not aggressive, but I'm asking you to be honest with me, and you weren't.
I'm so
Listen, what was my option?
bewildered, and I am.
I would have never heard from you. I've been down this road.
Okay, but you don't know me. You don't know me. Why would you follow me home? I feel so unsafe right now. The fact that you followed me home, like when I
did not mean it that way. I said I am the furthest from racist person, but I'm not.
No, you're not. Because the furthest person from racist would never use that word.
Alright, I'm calling my black friends right now. So
no, I don't.
No, I'm being so
I don't want. No,
because
no.
I am not. Yes, because I drove an hour.
What kind of respect do you have?
What kind of respect did you receive? For what type of respect did I get when you left me at the bar, you
So yeah, I think based upon him wanting to call his black friends in particular, that the remark was made against the black community. I also think that what he did was damn bonkers, but that goes without saying. Here's some advice for young men watching this video: do not follow your date home, unless you're invited. The story doesn't quite end there though, because apparently the date decided to pull one last Hail Mary and hit her up on Snapchat the next day like nothing had happened. And this is despite him unmatching her on Hinge after the date so that she couldn't report him. Alyssa would eventually make a follow-up video that's still up on her TikTok, where she had this to say.
I'm not in that place yet. I need to give myself grace and I need to give myself time to process what happened.
Essentially, she said in the follow-up video that she wasn't ready to explain the night from start to finish, and I couldn't find any additional follow-ups, so whether she made one and then later deleted it, or felt as though she didn't need to give the night in full detail, I don't know. I think it's safe to say that her opinion of Hinge declined rapidly after this interaction. And the same thing is probably true for a Dallas woman who, after a Hinge date went wrong, took to the internet to reveal how she had a total of $10,000 stolen from her. So let's dig into this. This is a TikToker named Simpforutho1, real name apparently Natalia, and it appears as though her account is now gone from TikTok. My assumption why is that she very likely received a lot of harassment following this video, as it was shared all over Twitter and people were laughing at her, saying that she was dumb to trust a man that she had matched with days ago, and that in this instance victim blaming was acceptable because she should have seen this coming from a mile away, and that she needed to now take accountability for her poor decision making. And once you see the guy she was robbed by, I think it's tough to say that this was hard to see coming. So you're probably wondering why people were saying this. And instead of me telling you, I think it would be better for Natalia to tell you, as the video describes the events from her perspective.
I was robbed by someone that I trusted, that I had met on Hinge, the dating app. We've only known each other for like 12 days. Yes, I know I'm an idiot for inviting some man that I didn't know to my house multiple times overall in the last a week and a half. I trusted him, although there were a lot of red flags. So many that I can't even count them. Well, we're pretty much official 2 days ago. I'm assuming now we're not. I've called him, I have FaceTimed him, I have tried to text him, nothing. I've tried all day, not all day, just for a few hours. I tried him on other phone and other numbers, nothing. I've even DM'd him on Instagram, nothing. I'm going to show you a picture of him. He's in Dallas, so you guys know who he is, and ladies beware. I think he does this, maybe on regular, I'm not sure. This is the first picture of him. He has a tattoo on his neck and tattoos on his arm. Another angle. This is his dating profile on Hinge. Ladies, if you see him, please, just don't match with him. Don't.
Okay, yeah, so they say don't judge a book by its cover. In this case, it was always going to be the ones you most suspect. I'm not going to say that she deserved to be robbed, but I'm not exactly surprised that she was. Shortly after the video came out, it started to gain some traction, which was when someone that knew him decided to message the Dallas woman and drop some details about him that changed everything. She would make a follow-up video where she had this to say.
When I made that video, one girl had made a post and said, or made a comment saying that she knows him, that's her baby daddy. And I was like, he got a kid? Not only does he have one kid, he has 2 kids, and I did not know that, and it was on his profile, and he never mentioned it. We pretty much got into a little group chat on Instagram, and it went back and forth about what he's done. He's done a lot of robbing, and just, he doesn't work, he doesn't like working, he doesn't believe in working, he just likes to flex, flaunt with fake money, real money, whatever is stolen. And yes, I know the way he looks like a scammer, a drug dealer, I know, but attraction is attraction, and I fell for that.
At the end of the day, if you're young and sound of mind like she is, or at least she should be, and you're going on a date with someone who looks like that, giving them the ability to rob you out of $10,000 within 12 days of meeting them, that is absurd, and you've made some serious blunders over the past 2 weeks. What happened after that though, I don't know. As I said, her account that this was posted on is now no more. So whether or not she was able to recover that $10,000, whether or not her date was eventually arrested, that's a mystery to me. But bottom line, this was a Hinge heist that could have easily been prevented. On to our next case of a Hinge freak, and this one is a little bit different to the rest. The source of conflict here is perhaps not as serious as our other stories. We don't have any trolls, no stalkers or racists, but it's a prime example of what many people have called delusional standards. So let's unpack why a woman was cancelled for a list of dating requirements that she had. So the person who matched with this woman had commented on a prompt where the woman that he matched with had a list of dating requirements that her partners needed to have. In theory, this should be completely fair. Everyone in the world has deal breakers and preferences, whether it be deeper things like sharing the same values, politics, and moral codes, or even slightly shallower things such as height, weight, hair color, and voice, and so on and so forth. Now, I think it's totally fair and even very natural to have a few deal breakers, but you have to understand that the more you have, especially the more little minute things, the more shallow you seem, and the less likely it is that you'll actually be able to find someone that ticks off all of those boxes. Let's use an example. If you say that you can't date a man who's under 6 feet and you live in the USA, you've already cut off 85% of the population. And if you only want to date a man with blue eyes, you've already cut off 73% of the US population. And if you want both of these things together, you've cut off approximately 97% of the US population. Before any source of compatibility or personality comes into play, you've already cut off 97 out of 100 men. And I do use women as an example here because they generally seem to be a little bit more picky than men, and there's a whole wide range of societal and biological factors why, but in certain dramatic, extreme instances, it can lead to something like this. This Hinge user had a list of 18 bare minimums for her future husband. Keep in mind, she wants this at the very least. To break it down, they need to love her deeply and put her first. This isn't a bad start, to be honest, it's generally understandable, but then it gets worse fast. Be financially successful, $300,000 plus salary. This is apparently 1 to 2% of US-based men and is a completely superficial request. Financial security, I understand, but $300,000 as a minimum dating requirement is ridiculous. It goes on. Generous and spoils me, sophisticated and enjoys luxury, emotionally intelligent and confident, chivalrous and protective, ambitious and disciplined, family-oriented and well-connected, fit, attractive and well-groomed, takes control and makes plans, keeps his word and values trust, supports my goals and lifestyle, fun, outgoing and socially respected, prefers privacy over media validation, loves traveling and fine dining, sexually disciplined and loyal, handles pregnancy protection, and finally makes life easier, brackets, maid chef, etc. I don't know if that means that she wants him to be a maid and chef on top of having a job that's worth over $300,000 a year, or I would hope more likely she wants him to hire one. But long story short, the people that saw this found it quite hilarious, while also being quite mad at the demands. And this is not a list of like 17 or 18 demands, it's more like 30 or even more because most of them have additional things tagged on the end. There is a big asterisk on whether this man possibly even exists. Also, if there was a guy out there that fit like 16 or 17 of these categories but not one, would she go for him? Like if he matches all of these but hates fine dining, does she just dump him? What if he met half of them? If these are the bare minimums, it seems like she'd turn him down. Whatever the case, this post went viral on Reddit, and it was probably for the best that the person who made this had their profile censored, as people were very critical of her shallow demands. Do let me know down in the comments, if you're of dating age, what's your most shallow deal breaker? I feel like this would be a very fun question to ask, and if you let me know, I'll reply to all of them that I see and let you know if I think that they're valid. With that said, I think that when we imagine a Hinge freak in our mind's eye, we're probably thinking of a guy. Hell, we've had several in this video already. But from time to time, a woman will come along and throw this far out of the window. Our next tale is one such instance, as the subject of our next story did something so evil on Hinge that it caused her to get investigated by the FBI. Meet Aurora Phelps. She's a woman in her early 40s who was using dating apps such as Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge for sinister reasons between July 2021 and December 2022. During that time, she would engage in something that has since been described as a romance scam on steroids. So what did Aurora actually do? Well, she had a burning desire: wealth. And she would stop at nothing to make that dream a reality, even if it meant breaking a couple of rules. She would use dating apps such as Hinge to strike up conversations with older, rich men, primarily in their 60s and 70s. Once they matched each other, she would slowly but surely gain their trust before asking to meet, and once they did, her plan would take shape. The plan she had was to drug these old men and then proceed to steal from them. She'd access their bank accounts, their social security and retirement accounts, and then just leave them. These crimes took place in both Vegas and Guadalajara, Mexico. In one single instance, it was said that she intended to sell $3.3 million worth of a victim's Apple stock, and while she was unable to cash it out in this instance, given that she had a minimum of 11 different victims, it tracks that she would have had success in pulling off this scheme. Digging into this case, it has to be said that Aurora was a stone-cold monster. In one case, the man that she matched with, she drugged during a lunch date, taking him down to Mexico, putting him in a wheelchair, and conducting her scam. He was later found dead in a Mexico City hotel room. And he wasn't the only victim to have his life taken. The LA Times reported that one of her victims fell into a coma because of the drugging, and a total of 3 of them had died. Whatever substance she was using did some serious damage. Apparently, she kept her first victim drugged for 5 days, and another one of her victims apparently disappeared. To dig into Phelps a little bit, who also went by other aliases such as Aurora Flores, Aurora Velasco, and Aurora Alvarez, she was a mother of 3, and while she divorced the father of those children, she eventually found a new partner who claimed that he had no idea that she was doing all of this. His claims are tough to believe, given that she apparently sent him $64,000 in one instance, and during other instances, she would have gone missing for days at a time. But apparently he passed a polygraph, so perhaps he was telling the truth. Of course, considering that she did this to at least 11 victims, she was always going to get caught. It was just a matter of when. As a result of her actions, this alleged killer was charged on 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of mail fraud, 6 counts of bank fraud, 3 counts of identity theft, 1 count of kidnapping, and 1 count of kidnapping resulting in death. She was arrested in Mexico, and so as of the time news reports came out, the US authorities were working on getting her sent back to the States. Considering everything that she's allegedly done, if it can be proven, I think it's tough to say that this isn't a fair sentence. And I think it's also fair to say that if you enjoyed this, it stands to reason that you'd also like my video about banned Tinder users too. Or if you want something a little bit more taboo, I also made a video about the kinkiest dating app on the internet, FetLife, so go click on your screen right now to give either one a watch. I guarantee that you won't be disappointed. Aside from that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.